Talking to you live from the Aventura Corporate Center. My name is Stuart Brisgel, and this is the rantnetwork.com. And today I am going to talk about lots of different issues as I continue to play around with the software. I keep talking about the software, but believe it or not, there's a lot that goes into trying to press the play button. Yes, it seems like I just press play and here I am, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And in starting to create something with my good friend David Solomon and using the resources of a guy named Richard Balfour, it's trying to make things go. So let me say hello. Today I want to talk about vaccination. I want to talk about why some people can get vaccinated and the reasons why it's so important for them, but also what other groups of the population would be better served by getting vaccinated. So, the elderly, the ambassadors of our good countries, are the parents, the grandparents, and the great great grandparents. They've lived their lives. They've contributed to society for the most part. And, they're at a time in their life where they're more sensitive to getting sick. Does that mean their life's more valuable? No. It just means that their life may be more fragile. My father had COVID back December 9th. And he was sick. I can't attest to how sick he was. I can only attest that it lasted about 7 to 10 days, and I'm sure it didn't feel really good. But it was not the life threatening version, or his body didn't act like it's a life threatening version of COVID 19, as their 450,000 to 500,000 Americans have. Why am I using the American standard? Because it's just, on the news every 5, 10 minutes. You know, it's you're dealing with how many thousand people dying a day and what percentage are young and healthy and what percentage are elderly. Mind you, elderly have other complicated issues that are in part also responsible, but nevertheless, it is unfortunately a fact that if you're older, you are more at risk than if you're younger. I would love to have a shot for every single man, woman, and child now and let you decide if you feel that running the risks of non vaccination makes sense for you and your family. However, I'm not of that same thought. The non vaxxers really don't make much sense to me. But in the United States, it's your right at this point. However, it may not be your right if you're a doctor, a nurse, a firefighter, or may attend a school because your non vaxxing methodology could theoretically put all those other kids and people at risk. Something to think about. Now, there are several segments of our population which, as a result, if they got vaccinated, would open up lots of our economy and lives from being trapped. And that would take lots of people off of unemployment. It would put a lot of people back to work. And it would put our kids, our highest resource, most valuable, back in the schools where they need to be. And this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of the educators, the CDC, and both sides of government. However, you have these bodies called unions that are not exactly wanting to play ball. The CDC, everyone says follow the science, except when it refers to them. Then the science doesn't work. It's kind of like it's good for you, but not for me. Kind of sounds like John Kerry and his private planes and helicopters. Let me tell you how we need to protect the environment and how you're going to keep it. But you yourself are, I'm exempt. I'm too important to do this. I kind of laugh. I mean, it's just funny, man. That guy's just a trip. Uh, if you vaccinated, so let's take another step back. Teachers in the United States are like firefighters, police. They are, important services, which is why they get a retirement account in the United States called a 403B or 457. This is not open to the regular Joe Q American unless they work for a fire department, police department, or the federal government. So they are an essential worker, which means they're getting extra credit, believe it or not that much, but for what we call is hazard pay. And, the unions for the school teachers want to say, hey, we want to be protected on this side, but we're not willing to work on the other side. But follow the science. Okay. Now, I do, however, think there's a great compromise, but you don't find anyone in government pushing. All teachers, garbage men, waterworks employees, electric company employees, cable companies, people that keep our lives going, which allow us to stay home, the majority of the public, right? To stay home. We don't need to go out. We'd like to go out. We want to be out, but we aren't the required group that keeps everything else moving, like our electric, our heat, our water, our roads, the garbage on the street for sanitary, the kids to go back to school so the parents can actually start working again. But no one in the swamps wants to pony up. Let's get a program and vaccinate all the teachers and their families, because why are the spouses or partners of those teachers putting their families at risk? So who's on first? Who's on second? Who's on third? And who gets to go home? What's fair? Should we share vaccine with another country before our country gets vaccinated? If we get to this so-called herd immunity, we would fast track, normalcy, right? But if we top skip and jump and say, oh, this country is kind of starving, we need to give them the vaccine, then are we ever going to get that critical level? Now, governments also love this control. It's like drugs in the veins, man. They love to control you. Hey, it's in your best interest. It's for your best interest. But what does this do to the economy? If the teacher can't teach the kid because the kid can't be at home by him or herself, or the kid doesn't attend class because they don't have a laptop because mom or dad or mom and dad can't afford to buy one, the school can't afford to give one, it's just a domino effect. And the ideas of shutting down the world for 60 days is just utterly ridiculous. This virus is not going anywhere so fast. And they've already concocted 2 other versions of it, which may or may not be most relevant. Currently, the vaccination that you're getting should help prevent you from getting the worst cases. But that's what a vaccine does. It just, to help you so you don't die. It's not going to prevent you from necessarily getting sick. Herd immunity concept is that the virus has nowhere to go and it just burns itself out. Kind of like, the Spanish flu, the Hong Kong flu. Many of these flus, that vaccines were never, ever developed. And yes, they were like pandemic type deaths. Unfortunately, we didn't have the now media that's able to give it to you in real time. But let me tell you something. Each and every single one of these viruses killed off generations of people. It's wrong. But the impact to society at large isn't best served by locking every man, woman, and child up. It's not, in my opinion. And that it's not the most politically correct conversation, but it's a conversation that we've got to have. So I strongly suggest you take a moment, think about where you are with this vaccine, what you want to do with it once it becomes available to you, and how important is your entire life and life around you more than yours. Like some of the elderly that are running to get shots or getting shot at the home, these are people who don't leave their houses, that have people that bring food to them. You know, so there's lots of options on spreading this vaccine out. One of which is to take it if you need it. You know, there is no such today in present time where people start saying, what is the American thing to do? Politicians like to say, mask up, pony up, America. Now, wearing a mask, I mean, I've got my mask right here. You know, I wear it. And there you go, one of these copper doodads. And I wear it everywhere outside of my office, right? Because it's the right thing to do. Our current president says it's the patriotic thing to do. But it's also our patriotic duty to ensure that the people that keep our lives moving, to let them get vaccinated. Again, my name is Stuart Brisgel. This is the rantnetwork.com. Today is February 4th, 2021, and I'll be back online later. But again, this was a test to see how it broadcasted on a few networks. Take care. www.therantnetwork.com.